facing unexpected pregnancy, does that scare you? You're not alone. We have an incredible lady in the studio with us from an organization called Pregnancy Care Center, Linda Banerjei. Join me in welcoming her to the studio. Thank you for being here, Linda.
Molly, thank you so much for having us.
Our pleasure. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your organization and what you're doing, and how can you help women who find themselves in having unexpected pregnancies?
Well, Molly, as you can appreciate, that if someone finds themselves in an unexpected or an unwanted pregnancy, that can be a very stressful and upsetting time for them. It can be a time where they don't know what to do, they don't have an opportunity to talk openly about their pregnancy decisions. And the Pregnancy Care Center exists so that women and men making pregnancy decisions don't need to feel that they're all alone. They can get the information that they need. They don't need to make a decision that they would later regret because they didn't have information or weren't aware of all the supports that are available. So for 32 years now, the Pregnancy Care Center has had the privilege of extending help and hope to families facing unexpected pregnancies and letting them know that they're not alone and they don't need to have an unwanted abortion.
All right, so walk us through a process of when someone calls you, maybe let's say a woman who is facing this crisis, or at least they view it as a crisis. What happens then?
Well, let me just, and I realize it can sound a little bit mystifying what would happen. We would get a phone call from somebody that would say, listen, I just don't know what to do. I'll tell you the story of a friend of mine, and she's become a close friend. She'd literally come from the doctor's office and found out that she was pregnant, and she wasn't married, she was in school, she was a newcomer to Canada and didn't have family support. And she literally said, oh God, what am I going to do? And she was able to get information about the Pregnancy Care Center, and she phoned up because she did feel alone and she didn't know what to do. So we had a chance to meet with her. We had a chance to hear what her issues were, what the cry of her heart was, what she wanted to do. And we let her know about information. She wanted to find out what abortion procedure would look like, what it would be, what would happen if she chose to parent, what supports would there be available. What about if she wanted to place her child in an adoptive home? How would that look like? And we gave her the opportunity to meet with people that had had past abortions, that could share their experience, had had a past opportunity to place a child for adoption, and also those that had parented and how that was going as a single parent. In this particular case, she chose to embrace the pregnancy. And that was what she felt was the right thing to do, but she was scared. She didn't know how to do it. So then we met with her every week, and we had modules of a program that we call the Lifeboat program. She met with some volunteers from the community that would encourage her, help her out with planning financially, help her think about parenting. There were some people that needed to help her move, so she was in a more economical home. And you know, through that whole process, it wasn't just her that was helped, but her boyfriend. He embraced the pregnancy as well. They became quite excited about becoming parents, and he wanted to let her know how much she could depend upon him. So he felt it would be the right thing to do to get married with her. So they got married. In the process of getting married, that actually brought the families together. Her parents, which were out of the country, were so impressed that this young man would take responsibility for the developing child, their first grandchild. His parents were also proud that he was willing to step up and take responsibility for his new family. So they came together, and since then they've been making such positive changes because they've got the high motivation of this child. And now they meet with other families that are in similar circumstances and let them know, although it's challenging, but there is help. And it's a beautiful thing, and they don't regret their decision by any means.
Oh, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
A great story. And thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now, one of the things that prevents women from contacting anybody is because of the stigma, the shame that is associated with it. What do you do through your program to make sure that people don't feel judged? Because they're already feeling bad. They know they've done something that they shouldn't have done, right? So they don't. Nobody wants to be judged. So how do you make them feel that they are not being judged and that they can come to you comfortably?
No, that's a great question, Molly, because we've all been there, haven't we? We don't have anybody that's on the face of the earth that hasn't made decisions that they regret or been in situations that have been very difficult. So one of the things that we make very certain of, that those that work in our team are those that are committed to caring for people, loving people, and not judging those. But when we come in, we offer confidential and free appointments. So what usually happens is someone phones up, they make an appointment, they have an opportunity to be met with confidentially, privately. Anything that's said in the context of that room stays in that room, and we sign off on that. We want to make sure that that's very important, and we want to make sure that that's a safe place for people to go. We would like to be able to extend help and hope and all the options and let people know that they've got the support if they want a parent. They have the support if they want a place for adoption. We will give information about abortion procedures. However, we're not a medical clinic. We don't perform abortions or refer for abortions. And we really exist so that people don't have to have that unwanted abortion. Mm-hmm. However, we recognize that everyone is going to make their own choices, and we respect that.
Yes.
And individuals that leave know that they are welcome to come back. They're welcome to come back even if they chose an option that we think that might be harmful or difficult for them. We offer post-abortion support for those that would make that choice and then later find that they need support through it. We want to support people through the grieving process if they place a child in an adoptive family, but we also want to walk people through all the challenges of parenting and preparing for parenting.
What really stood out to me and what sets your organization apart from all the other organizations is that you support the men involved in the process as well. Talk to us a little bit about it, because many times only women become a focus of this conversation. Mm-hmm. And it's only women because say this is to do with her body, it's her baby, it's her decision, but there's another person who's involved in this transaction, so to speak. Right. And that's the father. And many times nobody talks to them, and they also grieve. So tell us, what is it that you do for the men?
No, you're so right, Molly. I think in many times past we've tended to think about the pregnancy as being a woman's issue, but really there are two people involved in decision making. And a number of years ago we realized that we were not doing the women we were doing them a disservice by not including the men, their partners in the discussion. Because oftentimes the women were getting information, they were wrestling with things, but their partner wasn't getting that information at the same time. So we do encourage, when it's possible, for both the woman and her partner to come in at the same time. And we encourage the partner to say why he's there. Maybe he wants information. For him to say exactly what level of support he would give to his partner. So oftentimes a man would say, well, I'll do whatever she wants me to do. Well, for the woman, she might interpret that as he's not going to stand up, but maybe he is actually willing to help her parent, or maybe he would support her in an adoption decision. And so we would have the opportunity to ask some of those questions and have them be able to discuss it in a place where they can get information and realize that he might have some other concerns.
All right, so there you go. So if you're that woman who is struggling with this, or know of someone who has these issues, or perhaps you are that man who's grieving this and doesn't know where to go, well, this is a good organization. You can contact Linda and her organization at the number that's listed below, and I'm sure they're going to be very, very helpful to you. Thank you so much for coming. And most of all, we want to thank you for everything that you're doing for the community. We appreciate that. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Molly. It's been my delight, and we trust that many more people will get the support that they deserve when they're in an unexpected pregnancy.
Certainly. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
There's lots more for you, so don't go anywhere.